All right, I want to do a recap of all the information we've gone through. I know I've given you a lot of information and I've gone through it very quickly. So let me do a brief recap of what we've talked about so far, and then I'm going to put my little emphasis points on things I think you should really integrate / remember. The first one is we talked about mindset. You got to have the right mindset. You got to have the right mindset when it comes to selling. You're not selling your what? You're sharing. You're sharing information. You're sharing great information that you know will benefit them. That's what you're doing. You're sharing. You're not selling really. And if you can have that mindset when you're talking to a customer, all of a sudden you have a different perspective. You see yourself differently. You don't see yourself selling. You see yourself what? Sharing information with the world, so to speak, about your product or service. And that is the foundation of great salespeople in terms of how they think. Second, we talked about product inventory. Look at your product or service and then list out all the features, benefit, and advantages you have to offer. Remember that? I gave you a formula for that. Feature, benefit, advantage. Take the time to do that because this is important for you to understand what you have to offer. And again, after you do that, list them out, then categorize them, and we'll talk about that, how that plays into the sales process in just a bit here. Then I asked you to do a comparative analysis. This is important, I think. What's going to happen is that you're going to be compared with other competitors in the market. So you need to understand your competition. By having this comparative analysis, this matrix that we developed, you'll be able to kind of tell where you're strongest and where you're weakest. And again, this is the information you want to have during the introductory meeting with your customer to basically emphasize where you're better than your competitors. The next part is profile. I can't emphasize this enough. You can't sell to the whole world. Remember that total available market? You got to pick your market segments. So what I want you to do is actually find the right profile for people who want to buy your product. Now we talked about premium pricing. If you're going after premium pricing people, then that's part of the profile. Again, you can't sell to everybody. List them out, who your potential customers are, categorize them, and then prioritize, and then attack and build your sales presentations around that niche market. Then we looked at the sales process. The first part was obviously the research, which we've talked about already, about what we need to do before we walk into a meeting. Then we talked about the first meeting. Remember, the key there is to ask a lot of questions to get a lot of information. And what are you listening for? Problems that they may be having with their current supplier or vendor that your product or service can solve. The next one is the presentation. Again, having listened to their problems or the situation, understanding their problems, and then incorporating anticipated objections that they may have, you want to put this all together into a powerful presentation, okay? Once you can incorporate their problems and their anticipated objections into that presentation, that's a really strong presentation. Once you're done with the presentation, the next step is the demo phase, right? The how-to, let's see it. So now you're going to show it to them. Again, if you could do a live demo, that's great. The more tangible you can make it, the better. If you can't do that, then that's fine. Go with some how-to steps. But again, try to make the how-to just very tangible using customer testimonials or examples. And also talked about using analogies, right? If it's a complicated subject, break it down with simple analogies. Remember the one I gave you for the sales process? I said it's like a recipe. Get the idea and use a lot of visuals, whether it's pictures or actual objects. Use visuals to drive home your point. Also, on options, again, begin to structure the different options that you offer as a company in terms of your product or service. Customer needs to start getting an idea of what you're offering them. Along with the options, again, what you want to do is give them pricing. Now, again, if you position yourself in premium pricing, that's fine. There's fair market pricing and there's premium pricing. Give them 3 options, not 2, because if you give them 2, they'll choose the cheapest one. Give them 3, they'll choose the one in the middle. Always offer 3 options. And then if you've done your work, if you've done your job properly and you've reduced all the resistance, you've kind of answered all their questions, you showed them how you can solve their problem better, and you've basically answered all their objections, then really getting into the close, it's not about a pressure tactic, it's simply about asking for the order. Mr. Customer, based on these options, which of these best fits your budget? Get the idea? Do all these things and you begin to have a great sales process. And as I talked about in the beginning, are you going to get it right the first time? No, you're not. But as you build out your sales process, you keep tweaking it till it finally what? Becomes what you want it to be. And then your sales will always be more consistent and you will sell more. I hope you enjoyed this program. Thank you. This is Victor Antonio. I enjoyed having you. Good luck.